I think EXP is a scam.
So we can all perform the same service. Like if I was in a room of 1,000 agents, I'd be like, hey, how many of you guys have a real estate license? Do we all make the same amount of money?
And how'd you get listings?
So by learning how to sell the service. So actively prospecting, because it's a low level opportunity in a sense. It's just a mechanism to raise cash. What I said to myself is like, look, I don't know what the way is, but I'm gonna either find the way or make the way.
You guys don't even know, because everyone's like kind of drinking coffee, and then they might go on one appointment, and then they come back and they chit chat, and then they're on the MLS and they go home at 5.
Yes.
I'm literally gonna smoke these people. If investing's a Honda, how is EXP a Ferrari?
To me, selling 100 homes a year as an agent is like winning the Super Bowl.
I don't believe in this whole freedom crap. There's nothing wrong with crushing it as a realtor. I know I'm just like talking a bunch of crap.
No, and it's...
All right, guys, today on the podcast, we are going to get into it because we got a realtor here.
Let's go.
I don't even like realtors.
That's
so
good.
we're going to see how this goes. So how's it doing, Aaron?
Doing great, man.
You doing good?
Yeah.
Okay. So wanted to have you on the podcast because I am not convinced that being a realtor makes sense in 2023.
Sure.
I think EXP is a scam. I think that realtors live in a box and they have so much earning potential, but they don't even realize it because they're so busy chasing 2% and 3% commissions that I'm here to break that today with you.
Okay, it's good. Let's do it.
Yeah. So I guess before we get into that, who are you? Tell people who you are.
Yeah. So my name is Aaron Novello. I've had the good fortune of helping buyers and sellers for about 17 years.
Oh,
I've sold 2,000 properties in my career.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
100 homes a year, 10 years in a row. I did 200 deals a year twice.
Okay.
And then I created a coaching company to teach people how to sell real estate in high volume.
Got it.
And currently what I'm doing is building an organization within EXP.
Oh, okay. 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 So,
From all of those things that you just said you don't like.
yeah,
which is fantastic.
And I used to be a realtor.
Yeah.
So, but I guess like you said so much, it's hard to, how did you scale being a realtor?
Yeah. So I think that by definition, a lot of being a realtor is a technician job.
Okay.
So you are actively, prospecting, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals, right? And it's truthfully, and I can understand why you believe that that's not the highest, most valuable use of time because it's a low-level opportunity in a sense. I would propose that flipping, if it's not done at scale, is the same. Because what happens is it's just a mechanism to raise cash.
Yeah.
And then the question is, what do you do with the cash? Right? So a lot of flippers live off the flips.
Yep.
And they don't have any residual income. And a lot of agents do the same thing, which is that if they learn how to sell real estate in high volume, they can raise a lot of cash. Like you can make $1 million on real estate, like just doing onesies, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, if they're not forward thinking and they're not recognizing, hey, this is a treadmill, there's no way off of this treadmill, and they're not taking a meaningful portion of what they're earning and investing into things that pay them money, then they're going to fall into the same trap.
Yeah.
Right. So I recognize two different things. So my first calendar year selling real estate, I made $13,000. So it's not something people would be on a podcast for.
Yeah.
They would not put you on a panel. They wouldn't ask you to do a keynote, and they definitely wouldn't like pay you to coach them how to do that. The reason was though, is I had an inaccurate assessment of reality.
Okay.
And Ray Dalio in his book Principles, he says you need an accurate assessment of reality in order to produce a good outcome.
Okay.
He also gives us a formula. He says a dream plus dealing with reality plus determination equals a successful life. So if you really study that, you're like, okay, well, what's the hardest part of that equation? It's not a dream. You have a dream, I have a dream, everybody has a dream. It's not determination either, because people have various levels of determination. It's reality. It's dealing with it. Because then I have to admit I'm not as smart as I am, as quick as I am, as fast as I am, as cool as I think I am. So my inaccurate assessment of reality is nobody taught me that it's a sales business, no different than selling bookstore to door, selling subscriptions over the phone.
Yeah.
So the mental map that helped me to get clear on that so I can do real estate in high volume was that the money's not in the service, it's in the selling of the service. So we can all perform the same service. Like if I was in a room of 1,000 agents, I'd be like, hey, how many of you guys have a real estate license? Cool. We can all do the same thing, correct? Do we all make the same amount of money? The answer is no. The question is why? Some people know how to sell the service better than others.
Okay.
So once I recognized that that's where I should be spending my time, then I got obsessed with that. So I would role play twice a day, 6 days a week. I would handwrite out scripts. I would record myself, right? Record myself role playing with people.
Yeah.
To really hone that skill. And That allowed me to go from 17 transactions to 50 to 75 to 89, then to 100. And then the second mental map that I became aware of is that you can only grow to the proportion that your systems will allow you to. So no matter how much motivation you get, like I don't care if you go to WealthCon and you get super motivated and pumped.
Shout out to WealthCon.
You can do it. Yeah, shout out to WealthCon. If you don't have systems, you will stay at whatever your current level is, right? So I recognized that and I started to build out systems.
Okay.
And SOPs, standard operating procedures, and staff that allowed me to create a conveyor belt where I could list 10 to 15 homes a month personally and do 180, 150, 180 transactions, all on the listing side because it's the most leveraged side of the business.
How'd you get, okay, so let's rewind. I want to get into the details. So you made $13,000 your first year, right? Yeah. What'd you do the next year?
The next year was like 115.
Okay. And you did that by listing?
Yes.
And how'd you get listings?
So by learning how to sell the service. So actively prospecting. So
okay,
so where I was upstairs in, like your guys' office and the flipping office.
Yeah.
There's people in there on the phone.
Yep.
And they're talking to people. So what I'm aware of is that was me. So I was doing that.
So you were cold calling.
I was cold calling.
Got it.
100%.
Okay, you were cold calling expireds and FSBOs?
Expireds, FSBOs. It ended up mutating into probates as well.
Okay.
We added that because I recognized so I did expireds. When I was selling real estate, I started in 2006. Everybody's making money.
Yeah.
You could be a rum-dum, show up in flip-flops, make $100,000, right? Because money's flowing freely. It's super easy. Well, 2008 happens. And the whole economic system gets decimated. So if you were using traditional methods of doing business, like your past client centers of influence, you're not going to do any business. So expireds, though, exploded.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of expired. Yeah, because no one was selling. Yeah.
So there's like 250 to 300 a day. I couldn't even call them all. So I would set 3 appointments.
Sounds like a realtor's heaven right there.
Yeah, it is. It's like manna.
Yeah.
So I would set 3 a day, cancel 2 because they didn't have equity, and go on 1. Then what happened though in 2011 and 12 is the marketplace got better. 10, 11, 12. What happens to expireds?
They go down.
They shrink.
Yeah.
So I would like to, say hey, I noticed that and I made this very mature decision to rotate into probates. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
So for 90 days, I'm banging my head against the wall and I recognize, there's not enough leads here for me to keep growing. And what I said to myself is look, I don't know what the way is, but I'm gonna either find the way or make the way.
Yeah.
And just by happenstance, serendipity, a buddy of mine had ordered a course on probate. He gave me access to it. And I started to, look at it. The other thing that's true is I live in heaven's waiting room.
Where's that?
In Florida, we have the largest elderly population in the country. So it's a source of business that is market independent.
Got it.
Regardless of market dynamics, people pass away.
Yeah.
So I got serious on it. I started to shrink the amount of time I called expireds, boost the amount of time of probates. And within 4 years, it became 50% of our business.
Got it.
Yeah.
I actually went through a transition very similar. So I used to be a realtor here in Vegas.
Awesome.
And big Mike Ferry agent.
Yeah.
And I was killing it, calling expireds and FSBOs. And then I would door knock expireds. And then I moved to California. I lived in Chino. And the problem that I faced was there wasn't a lot of expireds. And to drive to expireds takes way longer in California.
It's not efficient.
Yeah. So here in Vegas, I could door knock 20, 25 in a day. Cali is 3 to 5.
Yep.
Because just traffic and just stuff like that. So I was like, all right, damn, this sucks. Because I was planning to just do what I was doing out here and do it in California. And then I was watching Kevin Ward.
Yeah.
You know Kevin Ward?
Sure.
He was talking about NODs and probates and all this stuff. And then I was like, all right, I don't know what NOD is, but I started calling NODs and then started getting those listings, started doing short sales, and then started realizing how much flippers were making. And I'm like, I just worked this short sale for 6 months and made 2.5%. And then I paid my broker 25%. And this flipper just made 60 grand.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong business. But yeah, so very similar stories. So, all right, you got into probates, you started making 6 figures. Then what happened?
Yeah, so I did that continuously for a while.
How long?
And 10 years.
Okay. Damn.
Yeah. And I love that. He's like, how long?
Yeah, because I
10
know.
years, bro. So, and what I started to recognize though was that.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with crushing it as a realtor. I know I'm just like talking a bunch of crap.
No, and it's dope because what we're doing is triangulating ideas of believable people.
Yeah.
And
100%.
what ends up percolating to the surface is the truth.
Yeah.
And I believe that there's a million ways to make money.
100%.
A million.
Yeah.
And there's only a handful of ways to lose it, and it's all psychological. So if you can figure out what your way is to make money, and then there's stages to wealth creation. One is earning money. Very few people are good at that. I think it's something like 95% of the population makes less than $120,000 a year. So it's infinitesimally small. Then you have to learn how to keep it. Less are good at that.
Yeah.
And then you have to learn how to multiply it.
Yeah.
And even less know how to do that.
Yeah.
So there's stages. So whatever your hustle is to raise cash, like, I love it, bro.
Yeah.
Do whatever you're doing to raise the cash. Whether you're flipping, you're selling homes, great.
Yeah.
Because they're both mechanisms for just that.
Yeah.
But they're not mechanisms for financial freedom.
No.
Financial freedom comes from residual income. That covers housing, transportation, food, and insurance.
Yeah.
So it's like, if your identity is wrapped up in just being an agent and doing deals, and like you puff your chest out and go to events because you do 100 deals,
Get a little ribbon. Make fairy events.
you have a problem because I know a lot of dudes who are still in their 50s knocking on doors.
Yeah.
And what I would say to people, because I was usually the youngest one in mastermind groups, I'd be like, look, guys, I'm not saying this to be a jerk. If I'm still on this call in that age bracket and I'm still talking about contacts and listings, I screwed up.
Yeah.
I did something wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So whatever the mechanism for raising cash is, it's cool. The goal and objective is to have residual that covers housing, transportation, food, and insurance. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Because then you have financial freedom.
Yeah.
And you no longer have to worry about, like, is my family gonna... If I was to disappear off planet Earth today and I couldn't take a listing or I couldn't flip a house, the question is would my family's lifestyle change at all? Could they still go to private school? Could they still shop at Whole Foods? Could they still take a trip? And if the answer is no, you have to rethink what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, go back.
Yeah.
So 10 years, and then what happened?
So then I realized the next evolution is to build like a team.
Okay.
Truthfully, though, I didn't have a heart for that. I wasn't really interested in it. I didn't want to manage humans. I didn't want to do that. So then I did the next thing, which is to monetize the skill. So everybody would reach out to me and they wanted to role play with me or they wanted me to coach them. So then I built a coaching company.
Okay. You built a coaching company.
Yep.
When you were crushing it for these 10 years, like how much money were you making?
Yeah. So anywhere between like the last year I was in production was 1.5 million.
Damn.
Yeah.
Is that gross?
That's gross.
Okay.
Yeah, net is probably like 40%.
Okay. So
45%. 450, 500.
Okay.
Net. When it all shakes out.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so you were crushing it and then you started a coaching program.
Yeah.
And then the coaching program was teaching sales or probate or
So it was teaching people the skills that I'd acquired because all of that, 80% of that business was listing sold.
Oh, okay.
So I was just a listing machine.
You were just a listing agent.
Yeah. So I was teaching people those particular skill sets. And then what also started to happen is I would teach them the systems that we created to be able to do that in that volume.
Gotcha.
And also the mindset that's required because if you're going to do that, in my opinion, and this isn't an egotistical thing, it's just true. I was telling my wife the other day, like if you want to me, selling 100 homes a year as an agent is like winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Oh, it's super hard.
And it needs to be the only thing that you do.
Yeah.
Like it requires everything. Like a professional athlete, it's everything that they do. Blood, sweat, tears, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think if you could do it once, like athletes, if you could sell 100 homes a year once, you're good. If you could do it twice, you're like a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
If you could do it 10 years in a row, consistently, year after year after year after year, that requires a certain kind of approach, mindset, like that sort of thing. So that's what I was teaching.
Yeah. So, and I know I give realtors such a hard time, and it's because I know it's so hard.
Yeah.
So I did like the max transactions I did in a year was 50, and I was just by myself.
Which is awesome business, by the way, because like in most offices, you're like the top agent.
Oh, I was a top agent.
Yeah.
So I felt great at the time.
Yeah.
So I did 50, and it was hard.
Really hard.
Super hard.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so hard on agents. I'm like, you guys don't even know. Like, there's easier ways to make money, but they just don't know. But I do respect agents because it is a hustle. It is a grind. It is freaking, you're dealing with your customer service, sales,
everything,
legal, a therapist.
Yeah.
You got to manage dogs, a landscaper, whatever it takes.
100%.
You got to be there to figure out the problem.
What I share with people, it's like it's a crash course MBA.
Yeah.
Because you have to do so many things all at the same time. And I think also too, agents, they do serve like a really important purpose, like in society.
Yeah.
Where they, it's a really big emotional transaction. We think that we're thinking beings that feel when we're really feeling beings that think.
Oh, yeah.
And people are way more emotional than they imagine they are. And, if there wasn't a need for them, they would have disappeared when the internet came around.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why Zillow and all these companies that are pushing into the space, that if they could get rid of us, they would.
Oh, 100%.
The reason that they can't is because it's not just tech, it's touch.
Oh, 100%.
So I think that, they serve a good purpose. But to your point, most agents, they think like salespeople and not business people.
Yes.
And
they never get to business.
So if you can think like a business person and systematize things and think about leverage and different forms of leverage, then I think you can earn an unbelievable amount of money in comparison to what it's required to enter. Because here's what you need. You need a C on a test, $1,000, and you're not a felon yet.
Yeah.
That's the criteria.
That's it.
And wherever there's inefficiency in the market, somebody makes a tremendous amount of money. So, out of 20 million agents in the multiple listing service, this was back when I was really high in production.
There's 20 million agents?
There was at the time.
Damn.
No, I'm sorry, 20,000.
Oh, I was like, holy
So 20,000 in the multiple listing, and this is in South Florida, so it's a huge MLS. There was 100 that do more than 20 million in volume, myself included. So that means that, and this is a law in nature where the square root of the kind of sample set produces 50% of all the results. So if you have 9 tomato plants, right? 3 of them will do 50% of the output.
Yeah.
The other 6 will share the 50%.
Yeah.
If you have 100 agents, 10 of them will do 50% of all the business.
Yep.
The other 90 will share the other 50%. So the dope part about that is that mediocrity scales.
Yeah.
So I have a choice. I can make a decision. Do I want to be part of the mediocre many or the fantastic few? And that few, you can do something unbelievable. Like you can earn $10 million in a career just selling properties, and you're not saving lives doing brain surgery. Like, right?
So I remember I became a realtor, I believe in like 2016. And I came into the industry. I used to be a bar back. I used to be a bar runner, and I like went to college. So I was doing all 3 at the same time. And then I remember I got to my real estate office and I was like, all right, like I'm here to make money. How do I do this? And the broker was like, all right, you got a cold call and you got a door knock and you got to just hustle and try to talk to people. I was like, all right, cool. So then I'd be at the office and I'd be like looking what everyone's doing. And I'm like, no one's doing what this guy said to do.
Yeah.
Like everyone's kind of just chilling. Like that's what I noticed. Everyone's like kind of drinking coffee and then they might go on one appointment and then they come back and they chit chat and then they're on the MLS and they go home at 5.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm literally going to smoke these people because I already work hard at these 2 jobs and they have such low work ethic that I'm going to beat them.
Yes.
Like I literally remember having that thought like, oh, this is going to
like a certainty, right?
Yeah. I was like, dude, this is going to be easy because they don't know what it is to work hard because they get paid $10,000 to sell one house and then they kind of take their foot off the gas and then they're not here for a month and then they'll come back in and then they'll get a couple listings and then they're gone. I noticed it super quick because I've always been a hard worker, a hustler.
Sure.
So I came in, started cold calling, started crushing it. And I was like, all right, like the industry is like super saturated and super like soft and most realtors are entitled. They're like, oh, my broker needs to give me leads. They need to give me training. They need to do my social media. They need to show me how to do these contracts where I'm like, just figure it out. Like, so has that changed or is that kind of
No, it's the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the same. So in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. If you can see something that people don't, it's an incredible advantage.
Okay.
So what you saw in that moment is massive inefficiency.
Yeah.
You saw people are like, bro, these people aren't even working.
Yeah. No.
So because of that, and I think the other thing that's true is that there's been a breakdown from a model perspective in the brokerage business. So what they've done is they've outsourced all of their value. So they should be the one helping you and coaching you and training you.
Yeah.
And coaching companies shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
That should be something they do.
Yeah.
They don't.
No.
And they outsource everything. And truthfully, they're just a platform to process a transaction.
Yeah.
That's all they are, with some kumbaya and some hand-holding.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's a flaw in the design.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons. So I used to own part of a Keller Williams office. I sold it back in order to participate in EXP.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I do believe that in 10 years, 50% of all agents will be with cloud-based brokerages.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good topic to bring up. I don't see how brokerages will exist in like 10 years because I don't understand like why would anyone go to a brokerage?
Yeah, so and here's kind of my thought on that is that I think purely from an economic perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've watched over the last 5-10 years, specifically over the last 5, is that the cost of sale has risen dramatically for agents.
Cost of sale, what is
meaning like the cost to acquire clients, because now you didn't need CRMs, and you didn't need Google Ads, and you weren't
professional photos.
You weren't paying 33% referral fees to Zillow, or Redfin, or all of these companies. So the cost of sale has gone up dramatically, which means the net's being compressed.
Oh yeah.
And you have these sharp-elbowed, very shrewd, unlimited funded tech companies pushing into the space.
Yeah.
And they're taking, imagine you doing business and they come to the table and they're like, hey, we want 30 to 40% of all the money. Deal with it. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
In conjunction with, there's this lawsuit with commissions at the moment.
I heard of it. I don't know the details.
Yeah. So there's a high degree of probability as time progresses within the next 3 to 5 years that the way agents are compensated will change. The way information's inputted into multiple listing service will change. And buyer's agents will have to negotiate with the buyer for their fee.
Why?
And because of the lawsuit, because what they're saying is that it actually that the seller's paying all of the commission. And in every other industry, like you pay for your stuff and I pay for mine. And that by doing that, it artificially inflates prices. So with that change, that'll also be a change in revenue. So purely from an economic perspective, the old model, which is based in the physical world, which has physical world expenses, $40,000 to $50,000 a month to run, right? Just purely from economics, they won't be able to do that. So that's why I know with certainty, the same way I know the sky is blue and the grass is green, that in 10 years, 50% of all agents will be with cloud-based brokerages. So then from a cloud-based perspective, because the brokerage is in the cloud, but then it's like, okay, well, what are they providing? Like, what's the value stack?
Yeah, let's get to EXP.
Yeah, what's the value stack? And also, what am I getting for what I'm paying for? Like the cap, whatever that cap is. And there's knockoffs. And there is knockoffs, which makes sense that there would be.
Yeah.
And there's more space, whether it's real or other companies. What I like to tell people is like, well, what I'm aware of is that EXP is proven. They're at scale with 90,000 agents and they're profitable. They're an S&P 600 company. The S&P 500 is the 500 most successful large cap companies in the United States. The S&P 600 is the 600 most successful mid cap companies in the United States. You can't politic your way into that index. You can't buy your way in. It's a self-cleansing mechanism, right? If you fit the financial criteria, they let you in. If you don't, they kick you out. So we're part of that. We have $142 million in the bank, 0 debt, and it's profitable at scale.
Okay.
So the question is like, like if there's other models, like, okay, cool. And we can talk about that and why those might, how they're different. But it's like, what would you rather do? Take a startup or choose something that's proven, that's already been proven at scale? Because you guys are going through this here. Like I'm watching, I was telling Ryan and Justin, I'm like, dude, you guys have outgrown this space already. I can see it.
Oh yeah, we are.
But think about that. As you grow and scale, the leadership team has to deal with that. Many companies implode when that happens.
Oh, 100%.
Because they go really fast, really quick.
Yep.
Well, EXP's already been through that cycle. They went from 20,000 agents to 90,000 agents in 3 years.
Got it. Okay. I guess there's a few different ways to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Because I could look at it like, if I was an agent, why do I care if they have $148 million? Like, that doesn't do anything for me, right? Or how does that benefit?
Here's how it benefits, because what agents have settled for in the past is feudalism.
Okay.
So what that means is there's a king at the top or queen. They go out and they sell a region, right? Millions of dollars for somebody in the region. That regional owner goes out and sells individual franchises, offices. This is like in a franchise model. Then that owner of the office goes out and recruits agents. The agents do all the work. They can never own part of the actual company.
Yeah.
All the money flows up to the top. They're basically peasants. They rent their business. And what they settle for, are pieces of plastic and barbecues. That's what they settle for.
Yeah.
So the reason why is that EXP rewards me like an executive. When I perform, they give me stock in an S&P 600 company that stock pays a dividend. So, and that compounds. Most agents have nothing in their life that compounds. At the end of their working career, they have pieces of plastic. That's it. Where if I'd have been doing this for 15 years, I would have over $1 million in equity. Instead,
But could you sell it?
100%. So there's a vesting stage where stuff that you were awarded, you need 3 years to vest. That's a real company.
Okay.
If you worked at a corporation, they do the same thing. And you can use 5% of your pay commissions to buy stock at a 10% discount. If you worked at Nike or like Gillette, that's what they let you do. It's part of a perk for working with the company.
Got it.
So in doing that, in 16 months, the equity that I've earned is about $55,000.
Okay.
If I was doing that for 15 years, again, I would have over $1 million. Instead, I got a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
And
like 7-figure earner or something like that.
or like number one or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what people settle for. So that's why you would do that. The other thing is that they give you access, in my opinion, to the greatest wealth building tool that you will ever have access to in your whole life.
Holy crap. What is it? I need that. What is it?
So, well, the best way I know to describe this is YouTube.
Okay.
So you guys are, this whole thing was created from something that compounds, which is social.
Yeah.
And what YouTube did is they went to their content creators in like 2007, 8, and they recognized something. Hey, we have a problem here. We need you. We just have a platform.
Yeah.
We need you to create content. So we need to come up with a financial arrangement that's mutually beneficial. So what they did is they sent to their content creators, they were like, hey guys, if you fit the following criteria, 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time, we will give you approximately half of the revenue that we generate from ads on our content. So here's my question to you. Is that a scam?
No.
No, that's an economic model.
Yeah.
It's called revenue sharing. It caused YouTube to become the second largest search engine in the world. At half the time it took Google. Google was like, oh, we can't have that. And they bought YouTube.
Yeah.
What EXP does is they say to their agents, if you bring agents to our platform, because remember, brokerages are just platforms to process transactions, and they sell anything, we will give you a small portion of the $16,000 cap that they send back to us. It's YouTube, but for real estate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I've invested, dude, I sold all of those homes and invested a little over $2 million in cash into syndications, like, institutional grade investments, like you guys do at Pineda Capital. That produces about $9,000 a month in residual income.
Okay.
In 16 months, my rev share last month was $12,000.
Okay.
It is bigger than what it took me 17 years and 3,000 hours a year to do. It is bigger than that in 16 months with very little money.
Got it.
So it is a vehicle that can produce unprecedented wealth. Unbelievable that most people don't have access to.
Yeah.
Because think about it, how many doors would you have to own to make $12,000 a month in residual income? Most people.
At
20?
least 12.
At least 12. And you need 12 down payments.
Yeah.
You need 12 tenants. All the stuff that comes with
It would have to be Airbnbs. It wouldn't even be able to be like long term.
Right. It wouldn't be. You have to, because that would be like $300 a door, $500 a door.
Yeah.
And then you need like 20.
Yeah. Need all of them.
Right. So it's not as though that's bad. It works. It's just slower.
Yeah.
And what I'm aware of, Jose said this to me as we were talking about it, because I was a hard no on this. I was you, dude. I was like, dude, no, I'm good. This is a scam. This isn't real.
Yeah.
And
trying to take our rights.
But I never studied it. And the most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. And if my mind is blind to the possibility, my eyes will be blind to the opportunity. I really won't see it. So because I didn't study it, I couldn't make an educated decision. But once I started to study it, I realized like, let's say investing, it's like a Honda. It'll get you where you want to go. It might take a career, 20 years, 25 years. This is a Ferrari. I will get there in a fraction of the time.
I don't know. You lost me. I was good until you said that.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. Yeah.
It is.
How is it better than investing? If investing's a Honda, how is EXP a Ferrari?
Because I can create a residual stream of income that's massive in a short period of time with very little money. Now,
I mean, you could do the same thing with investing, and you could say, like, with investing, the earning potential is way higher than, I would say, recruiting agents at EXP.
Well, I would propose that there is only 12% of all agents participate in rev share.
Okay.
Because they're focused on, most people need money to pay bills.
Yeah.
So they're focused on doing deals. Most flippers need flips to pay bills.
Yep.
That's the truth.
100%.
Yeah. So what I'm aware of is because of that, they don't see that this compounds and it's highly leveraged. So, okay, the thing that helped me to really get clear on this, that it was a very valuable use of my time, was there were two mental maps. One is I didn't really understand leverage. I thought I did, but I didn't.
Okay.
And I read a book called The Almanac of Novello and he talks about leverage. And it melted my brain because it's very rare that I read something that's like accretive. Most things are like recycled information.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, like I've
heard this before.
Yeah. People are like, yeah, atomic habits. I'm like, it's not. That's not new information, bro. Like that's not, right? It's a good book, but like it's not new information. So, but this was accretive. I'd never heard it before. And what he said is there's 4 forms of leverage. The lowest form of leverage is labor.
Yeah.
Because it gets sick, it gets tired, it quits, it wants more money, right? But it's better than having no leverage. Second highest form is capital.
Yeah.
Because it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never gets tired, never gets sick. But it only works in one place. So if I put money in an apartment building, it only works in the apartment building. The third highest is content. That's what this whole thing is built on.
Yeah.
Because it works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but with no geographic borders or boundaries. It can go anywhere. And the real value to it is that the audience compounds.
Yeah.
And as the audience compounds, you can monetize in all different way with the wealthy investor and the wealthy and all this other stuff. Okay, you guys know that.
Canadian media.
Yeah, exactly. Canadian media, and you can golf with me and all this other stuff. Okay. The highest form of leverage though is code, software, because that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without geographic borders or boundaries. But it costs almost no money to duplicate or replicate once it's been created once. So if you look at the richest people on planet Earth, it's all code.
Yeah.
Larry Ellison. Zuckerberg, Tesla, Elon, it's all code. So that got me really thinking, and I'm like, oh, I'm in a low, like, I have just labor and capital, right? So then I started to think like about the content piece, and that's what got me in proximity to, the wealthy creator. And then I started thinking about code. So if you stay with me for a second. Now, the next mental map was the opportunity ladder. And I got that from Hormozi. There's a 5-minute video that he talked about that completely changed my thinking and really saved me years of time. And what he says is like most people spend time on low-level opportunities. So if you think about like, let's say you work at the laundromat.
Yeah. Or you work at EXP. Let's use that.
You're an agent.
Yeah.
There's no leverage there.
Yes.
Now let's say you manage a laundromat. You have a little bit of leverage.
Yeah.
But not much.
Yeah.
Now let's say you own a laundromat. Now you have one form of leverage, which is labor.
Yeah.
But you're limited geographically with who you can serve. Right? Because only people in 15, 20 mile radius.
Yeah.
And it's a low level opportunity. Maybe it's like $1 million opportunity. Like gross.
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's say you franchise a laundromat. Now you just added a form of leverage. Now you have other people's money to build out like laundromats, and you have labor. Yeah. And now you can do it across the country. So you're not limited geographically. You just took $1 million opportunity and made it a $100 million opportunity. Yeah. Because you added leverage. Now let's say you create software, right? Yeah. That runs laundromats anywhere on the planet. And it makes them more efficient, more effective. And all you do is take a small little rip of gross sales. Now you just took a $100 million opportunity and made it a $1 billion opportunity. So now let's talk about it with agents. So selling real estate is the equivalent of doing laundry. Yeah. Okay.
It's manual.
Yeah. What's the equivalent of managing the laundromat in real estate?
Being a broker.
Having a team.
Okay, having a team.
What's the equivalent of owning the laundromat?
Being a broker.
Yes, owning the office. What's the equivalent in franchising?
Owning like a Keller Williams franchise or something like that?
Yeah, well, I would propose it's actually Keller Williams itself, the company. Because they take a $6,000 royalty fee That is top line revenue, which is also revenue share, by the way. They don't, nobody talks about that, but that's what it is. And they can do it across the country. They use other people's money to build out offices. It costs about $300,000 to open an office.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the equivalent of software to process deals? Not like Ylopo or Chime or Zillow, but actual software to process deals.
Brokerment? No, I have no idea.
EXP.
EXP, okay.
It's just a platform to process deals. It's software.
Okay.
So in order to open an office, it costs $300,000 in the physical world. Do you know what it costs for me to have a partner start up anywhere in the country? $150 and $85 a month. You can't compete with that, bro.
Yeah.
Because it's software.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on EXP, but you got me really good.
Yeah.
You sold me more. I understand why people would do it.
Yeah.
But to me, it's still an opportunity cost because I just think real estate investing, not even just flipping, wholesaling, buying rentals, buying commercial is the only way to truly exit out of the game because you still have to recruit at EXP no matter what. They say you still have to recruit at EXP.
Sure.
You still have to, if you want to make money as an agent, like that $12K, I'm pretty sure you make way more than $12,000 a month because you can't live off.
Agreed. The only difference is 12K residual is worth a lot more.
Yeah, but it's residual as long as you're with EXP, right?
Yeah. Well, also too, though, think about this is that because I have the skill of growing things fast, I can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
Once I figure that out. And what I'm aware of is $120,000 a year in residual income is $2.5 million invested at 6%. I'd have to gross $5 million in order to accomplish
From that perspective, I get it. But like I said, the growing of the income part is like, I could flip freaking 2 houses and make what you make in a year with EXP. Yeah. And that's just 2. I get now, if I double down and do 12, like what the income potential.
And I think I agree with you. Again, there's multiple ways of making money.
Yeah.
The way that I think that I would push back a little bit is that for most flippers, they don't have time freedom or location freedom. With
I disagree. I think flippers and investors have way more freedom than realtors.
Well, realtors.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like what I'm doing.
But you still have to recruit. I know there's what is the fulfillment on this 12K? Like first of all, how are you acquiring these people?
Yeah.
And then what do you have to do to actually keep them?
Yeah. So the same thing that you guys are. So you guys are building community. You build a brand.
Yeah.
You do live events and you do social.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
The only difference is with your clients, you sell them a high ticket item once.
Yes.
With me, I would get a small piece of what they send back to EXP in perpetuity as long as they're with the company.
Yeah. So then again, how much, if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to share.
Yeah.
How much do you make a month from your coaching program?
Oh, like 40 grand. Yeah.
So you make way more. You make 4 times more.
Well, recognize this though, because that has location freedom, but not time freedom.
Yeah. I don't believe in this whole freedom crap.
Yeah.
This whole freedom crap is such a scam. Like,
you think so?
Yes, because people tell me this all the time. They're like, oh, well, flipping houses is bad because you're always go to work. Guess what? Owning rentals is work too. It's called property management. Like, yeah, you can get a property manager, but you still have to deal with it. You still have to do all the stuff. So I don't believe in like freedom or passive income. I don't believe in that.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you that I don't think there is passive. You're going to have to do something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's
no, and I think that I think a few things. One is for me, the game is no longer money. The game is time and impact.
Okay.
So for me, this allows me to have a big impact on a lot of people.
That I could see.
Yeah.
Flipping houses, I will say that. Flipping houses is very like unemotional numbers. You're always the bad guy.
Yeah.
To the buyer, you're the bad guy. To the seller, you're the bad guy. To the agent, you're the bad guy. To the escrow company, you're the bad guy. So like that, I agree with.
Yeah, and I think too that sometimes we can think, particularly as like analytical hard chargers, like, you know, like aggressive personalities.
Yeah.
That the only reason it makes sense to do something is because it's the most profitable thing to do.
Yeah. That's my mindset.
Yeah. Where in fact, how old are you?
20, 32.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense.
I thought I was 20.
Yeah. So what's really awesome about this is I'm 42.
Okay.
Do you have children?
Yep.
Yeah. How old?
I got 12, 6, 5, and 2 months.
Wow, good for you, bro.
Yeah.
Got a tribe. Yeah, it's awesome. So mine are 13 and 10. I don't have as many as you.
Yeah.
And like for me, I used to derive a lot of my identity from being the guy who would sell all the homes.
Yeah.
And I can just power through, muscle through, hustle through. Like I can outwork you 7 days, like that sort of thing.
I could feel it. I could feel that energy.
Yeah. And what the shift that happened is I started to realize, like, when you do that, you eviscerate margin.
Okay.
And I think societally, we've just all, without realizing it, eviscerated margin. So we don't have time for relationships. We don't have time for community. We don't have time for significant others. I coach a lot of agents who are single.
Yeah.
Because they spend all their time selling real estate.
Yeah.
And what I'm aware of is if I only teach you how to make money, that's like teaching you to be the one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. There is more to life than that.
Okay.
So when I started to look at how I'm spending my time, I started to realize I wanted to reclaim margin. And I think that there's 10 out of 10 opportunities in everything. I think flipping is a 10 out of 10 opportunities if you figure it out. I think selling real estate in high volume is a 10 out of 10 opportunity if you figure it out. The filter that I put things through now is like, okay, the first question is does it compound and is it leveraged?
Okay.
With those two filters I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right? If the answer is no, it's a no, automatically.
You don't want to do it.
The second filter is, can I make $1 million a year doing it? If the answer is no, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Now where it gets interesting, because I've probably eliminated let's say I had 10 opportunities, I only have 2 left. Of those 2, here's the next filter. Which one is the most in alignment with my natural disposition, my particular skill set, my gift, whatever that is? Which one would allow me to have the biggest impact? And which one gives me the most margin with time, energy, and money?
Got it.
And of all of those, when I run it through all the filters, that's why for me, this opportunity makes the most sense, because it goes through all the filters.
Yeah.
So I was telling my wife recently, I was like, look, for 17 years during summers, I worked.
100%.
Kids went to camp.
Yep.
And I pounded it out, working 70, 80 hours a week, and we would maybe take a small trip, maybe 6 days, 7 tops. Then I start to get antsy. I got to go do some deals.
Gotta call some leads.
Yeah. And during that time, I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah.
I'm not fully present. And I said to Carla, I was like, look, we only have 5 more summers with my son. He's 13. And then after that, he's going to have other stuff he wants to do.
Yeah.
I have 8 more summers with my daughter, Liliana. So I told her, I'm like, look, next year, she's going to turn 40, my wife. I'm like, I want to go somewhere for the next year, every year for the next 8 years, for a month, where we create memories. Because I read a book called Die with Zero. I don't know if you ever read that book.
No.
Radically changed my thinking. So it said that there's a peak with health and wealth. So wealth, if you leave it alone, compounds. Health, no matter what you do, declines over time.
Yeah.
So there's an intersection where health and wealth peak, and usually for hard chargers, for people that are very aggressive and proactive, it's in their mid 40s.
Really?
Yes, to early 50s, 100%. And once you reach that peak and you recognize it, instead of maniacally focusing on accumulating more wealth, what you should start to focus on is accumulating memories and experiences and pain and spending down what you've earned.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing you truly own in the end, is memories and experiences.
Yeah.
So those are all of the filters that I'm using to make that decision as to why, for me, this vehicle makes the most sense.
Got it. So, all right, we can transition to lifestyle. So, do you know why we call it wealthy investor?
I believe so, but I'm interested in you sharing with me.
Well, tell me why do you?
Yeah, because I think that you guys are interested in precisely what I just said. If you look at events, Ryan was telling me, because I was just on his podcast, that he's going to have a full sermon there.
Oh yeah,
and he's not interested in just building people. The thing that everybody can connect to that brings them all to the well is money. But once I have your attention, now I can teach you to be wealthy.
100%.
Which is not just money.
Yeah. Living the wealthy way.
Yeah.
So that's strong financially, like you said, with your faith, with your family, with your health, with your community, all that stuff. So our mission is build leaders, enrich communities. And pretty much what, like you said, we get people that come in and they want to make money, and then we start talking to them. We're teaching them how to make money, but then we're also building the individual. So yeah, that's what motivates me more than flipping houses or being a realtor.
What I would propose is we're on this exact same wavelength, because I told my wife that what we're doing is a ministry. The more people that I can get, just like you guys, the more people that you get proximity to what you're doing, the more you can pour into them, love on them, help them. And the thing that I'm greedy for is for my name to be in somebody's testimony.
Yeah.
That's what I'm greedy for.
That's
not the other stuff.
We were just doing our quarterly meeting. I don't know if Ryan told you.
No.
And then we were just setting goals and all this crap. And then one of our goals is like, we want 100 testimonials this quarter.
Yeah.
From Kingdom or from Investor.
Yeah.
Like either one. And if they're from Wealthy Investor, they have to have a settlement statement just to make sure they're legit. But yeah, I think that really motivates me now. Before it was like money. Like I wanted to just make a lot of money super quick. Wanted to be rich, drive a Lambo, all that crap.
Yeah, same.
But now I'm like, okay, I still want to make a lot of money for sure. Yeah. Like that hasn't gone away, but I've realized that like when you help someone, you feel 10, maybe 100 times better than making a paycheck.
100%.
Yeah, like sometimes I'll get paychecks and I'm like, dude, I got a stack of paychecks in my car right now that I haven't cashed. I don't even give a crap. I'm just like, whatever, dude. Like, yeah, it's great. But I've had students or people where they're like, Brian, when we spoke, I was literally in a broken down car, just like, what the hell am I going to do? I gave you guys $3,000. I'm so lost. And then even if they just start making a living, even if it's 50 to 60K a year flipping houses, I'm like, hell yeah. Because I knew where you came from and I knew where you're at and I knew, there's more to it. Yeah. But I guess like talk to me about impact, because you brought it up. Yeah. Like when did you realize that making an impact was so important to you?
Yeah, when I pursued all the things that you just described, and once I got them, it didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So like I've heard Dion talk about it recently, and I love what he's doing. He's like, imagine like driving the best car, but you don't feel like you're actually getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Imagine sleeping in the best bed, but like you can't get a nice rest.
That's how I was.
Or exactly.
Yeah.
Or like, imagine eating the best food, but you don't feel full.
That's also too why I'm not to go back to the EXP thing, but that's why I don't want people to be agents. Cause I'm like, dude, there's so much more. And they get stuck in this like rat race of get listings, but help buyers. Yeah. Where I just want them to think bigger.
Yeah. And what I would propose is what I can help them with is precisely that.
Yeah.
So it's to now like, do that, but also earn equity. Also pay attention to this rev share thing. Also, own part of a title company or a mortgage company. So like diverse, start thinking like a business person.
Yeah.
So you can create a life worth living. Because to me, I would be in rooms with people where it's like, okay, well, let me ask you a question. Because the industry has a tendency, and because you used to go to all those events, where they praise gross.
Yeah.
And you have to be very careful how you incentivize people because it shapes behavior.
Oh, 100%.
And
that was deep. Write that down. Right? That's very true.
And I would be in rooms with people and I'd be like, bro, like, let me ask you a question. If you made $1 million but got divorced, are you still successful?
No.
Because to me, there's no amount of external success that can make up for failure at home.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like, let's say you make $1 million a year, but like you never go to any of your kids' events. Are you still successful? Right?
Yeah.
And I think if you have the capacity to lead, you should. Because I think that there's a huge gap of like leaders, people like Brian or people like you that are sharing that message when you have a lot of attention and you're very influential. So, spitting on the floor and telling people they're small because they don't have huge car payments.
Yeah.
That shapes behavior.
Oh, 100%.
And it causes people to get on that perpetual hamster wheel.
Yep. And brokers do that on purpose.
And they never get off.
Yeah. Brokers do that on purpose because I used to work at Intero Real Estate.
Oh, yeah.
And back in the day, that was like the thing. Like somebody pull up in a Tesla.
Yeah.
Then this other one pulls up in like a more expensive car. And then you're like, damn, I got to get a freaking Porsche just to be cool and just to drive around with my suit on. But yeah, okay, so what about, I'll tell you some of my struggles. So I remember I was like flipping houses. I'm making a bunch of money. And I remember there was a time where I had like 15 flips going on. I was like busier than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, dude, I am not happy. Like this sucks. Like I am like.
You were like empty.
Yeah, I was just like, damn. I was like stressed out, empty. Freaking
probably friction at home because you're working too much.
100%. I was like, dude, real estate's number one. My family's gonna be number two, but just for this year. just for this year.
Yeah. And what I think is so interesting is that there's cognitive dissonance because people are like, I'm a family man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, look at your behavior.
Oh, yeah. No.
You're not.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I had to be honest with myself. I'd be like, if I'm really honest with myself, it's funny because I told, Jose this, that, you look at like your trophy room. Mm-hmm. And in the past there would be, oh, I've done this, or I've accomplished this, or I have this. Mm-hmm. And what I realized, and it was really like embarrassing, is that my relationship with my wife wasn't in my trophy room.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, dude, like, what am I doing? That should be the top thing in the trophy room because it's a reoccurring source of joy. Mm-hmm. Where those other things are hits. Mm-hmm. And we drastically overestimate the power of those hits. Yeah. Because like I remember I had a car on a dream board for like 2 years. Mm-hmm. I went to the Mercedes-Benz Museum while I was there and sat in it. And then I got it. Yeah. And for 2 months, it was like, oh my God. And then it was just a car, bro.
I know.
Like it totally disappeared.
Yeah.
And you drastically overestimate what you think you're going to derive from that. Yeah. And in the end, like what really matters is, again, relationships and impact. Yeah. And I remember going to one of another mentor that I had, and he asked me to speak at his like 30th anniversary of writing his book. So I flew out to Texas and I did it. And it really struck me because there were people in the room who flew all around, the country to be there. They're Skyping people in. And what I recognized, I thought I was the only one that he had made such an impact. I thought I was like special. Yeah. And I realized instantaneously, I'm not special, dude. He's done this for a lot of people. Mm. And what I became aware of is that everybody was in that room, not because he had made them rich or because he made them blissed out of their mind. It's because like he gave them something that was very helpful or useful. He made an impact in their life. Yeah. And what I realized in that moment, I pulled him aside. I said, hey, like not only have you taught me a skill, but you're teaching me how to live. Yeah. And that's dope. Mm. Because I think culturally, particularly for men, the message that we get is there's only three ways to be masculine. Yeah. One is physical ability, strength. So everybody posts, their bodies.
Yeah. Flex your biceps.
Yeah. 2 is sexual prowess. Yeah. 3 is making money. Yep. And I don't believe any one of those have anything to do with being a man. No. I think being a man is 2 things. 1 is being able to give love and being able to receive it. Mm-hmm. And 2 is having a mission or a purpose that's bigger than yourself. Mm. So what I see is a lot of particularly men running around trying to prove themselves as men in those areas. Yeah. And that leads to what happened to you and what happened to me, which was I do all that. And then I sit around and I'm like, bro, this is like not what I thought it was. Yeah. This is empty. Yeah. I'm not, I have some accoutrements of success, but like A, I don't know my time. Mm-hmm. I'm working harder now than I probably was like ever. Mm-hmm. B, relationships are suffering. All these things are suffering. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I told the story the other day. So I remember I'd be in my house, right? Paid off house, just to give context, right? I got a nice window with my pool. I could see the trees. Yeah. I got my kids with me watching TV. I got my beautiful wife in the kitchen. I got my dogs all around me. And I'm just like anxious as all hell. Yeah. I am just like, holy crap. Like just like playing through all these weird scenarios and like, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? I got to file my taxes. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I was like, damn, like I realized that I was in that place for a while. And that's what actually got me to go to church, because I was talking to Ryan about it. And he was like, you're anxious because you're away from God and Jesus. So I started going to church. Got baptized.
And I'm curious though, when he said that, was there any pushback on that? Were you like, nah, bro? Or were you like,
no, I was like, no. I was like,
I'm good. No.
I was like,
that might work for you, but not for me.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. But I got to the point where I was just almost desperate, where I was just like, I need to figure something out. So I started going to church. I had some stuff like change quick that I wasn't expecting. And then Ryan would pray for my anxiety, and like it went away. And then I would almost feel the spirit where I felt something that I never felt before, like joy, grace, happiness, like these weird feelings where it's like almost like you feel like crying, but you're just like, why am I crying? Like, I don't get it. And that's what was missing when I was like chasing the business stuff. Yes. Could I have done it at the same time? Yes. But I thought if I really want to be successful, I'm gonna have to pay.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna pay with all this other crap just to get this. So now, after being around Ryan, and I've been to Ryan's house more than who knows how many times. I've talked to Ryan hundreds of hours. You can be successful in real estate and business or whatever, and be right with God.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, exactly.
And in fact, they enhance each other.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what I realized even after like getting baptized and seeing all these things is like the love, the time, the leverage, all that crap is important. But also whatever your relationship is with Jesus, God, that's even more important because something could happen and then you're gone and you ain't taking any of this leverage, this EXP. You ain't taking
none of it.
And more importantly, for myself, I realized like, a leader, right? A leader makes money. They do this, they do that. Me going to get baptized, I did it for myself, to commit, but I also did it for my kids and my wife for them to see me commit because I want them to live the same way.
Yeah.
So that to me has been like, an awakening of like what a good leader actually looks like what a good man looks like.
Yeah. And I just read something recently that speaks to exactly what you're saying. So like if you take a triangle and it's sitting like this, if you turn it on its side, it becomes like an arrow. Mm-hmm. And most people do leadership like a triangle instead of like an arrow. So what you're doing now is you turn that on its side. Now it's an arrow, and everything behind the tip of the spear is safe.
Yeah.
So now you're leading by going forward.
Yeah.
And moving in a particular direction. And the other thing I mentioned to someone today, we've done a bunch of podcasts, is when people use the word kingdom, you guys have kingdom. People think a geographic place.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at like the Greek kind of translation of that, that's not what it means. What it means is royal power, royal control, and royal dominion. So in like Genesis, it's like you have control and dominion, complete control and dominion over the earth and all the, right? But that message is different, totally different. So instead of the kingdom of heaven is within you, instead it's the royal power, the royal control, and the royal dominion is within you to make it here as it is there.
Okay.
Right? And now you're because you turn that on its side, now you're leading that way.
What about like, have you ever had like a spiritual or religious experience where it shaped your life?
100%. And at an interesting place, not at church.
So in the box?
No, it was at like Tony Robbins' event.
Okay.
So we're doing like a gratitude thing.
Okay.
And there's like 5,000 people in the room. And I have this experience that is difficult to articulate with words. Okay. Because at the time, I am just like you, hard charging, very analytical, very much so in the world. And this experience is like of this like really big presence that felt like it filled up the whole room. And what I heard it kind of like saying to me is, I love you. I don't want you to worry and be scared. Like this is meant to enjoy. It's not meant to like slide through painfully.
Yeah.
And I start crying uncontrollably.
Really?
Yeah. And the dude next to me is like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because it's like this unconditional, like, love. And I remember I called a buddy of mine who's like, evangelical Christian, like super into that. I was like, what do I do with that, bro? Like, that's like, I don't even know what that is. And he was like, oh, and like my language, we would say that that's like this. That's what that is. And usually that happens for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the past, that would be, I would hear people say that and be like, come on, bro, like, what is that?
Yeah.
But because I had a direct experience of that, that was like you, it started me down that path.
Yeah. So you weren't really like, were you going to church and stuff before that? Oh, okay.
No, I wasn't reading the Bible. I wasn't doing any of that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause I had a very similar feeling where it's like, I love you. Everything's going to be okay. And it's funny, like when you say stuff, I can relate to it. Like, oh, like I thought life was a grind and this is just kind of like.
The purpose of life is to grind.
Yeah. Where it's like, no, we could just, you're all right. The pastor, like recently, he said something like, he was like, a lot of married couples, they try to get peace through force, right? You want your wife to do something, you try to argue, you try to do whatever you can to hurt them or make them do what you want to do when that's not the way to get it. And it's the same with life.
I think it's the same with life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, like, it's like I'm in the past, I don't know about you, but I was very motivated by significance. So I wanted people to know. And I'm very competitive by nature.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, I want to be like the guy. I want everybody to know.
Yeah.
And it's wild to think of like the example, which is like, you know, right before knowing that his time on earth was going to come to an end, what he did was wash everybody's feet. And what he said is go love others as the way I've loved you.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
That's like, what are you saying, bro? Like, that's unbelievable. And I know it's like a measure that's like, I think it perhaps impossible, you know, to live to perfectly, but I think it's certainly one to aspire to.
Yeah. What about, I guess last topic, like when you go off a course, let's say you find yourself anxious or depressed or whatever the case may be, do you ever like figure out how you got there and then how to quickly get back?
Yeah. So I think like why, I think people get lost in why, and why is less important than how, because how is process. I can do something with how.
Okay.
And what I focus on is what I feel, and what I feel is my emotional home. So I can live in a mansion, but if I'm focusing on what's not working or what I don't like, then I'm going to feel lack and scared and worried, right? So I need to pay attention to how I may be contributing to my own discomfort. Because something may happen that moves me, let's say, to like the uptight end of the continuum. Yeah. And anxiousness is usually about projecting into the future, and it's worrying about what's going to happen there and trying to really control it. Yeah. Like perfectly. And someone like you, you're good at maneuvering props and players into configurations that please you. So you're good at maneuvering parts on the outside. At the same time, it's still like imagining that if somehow I maneuver them in this particular configuration, then all will be well. I'll be centered and at peace. I'll feel that beautiful thing on the inside, right? And the problem with that is that when you maneuver things into configurations that please you, they never stay there. It's kind of like, imagine if you saw like ducks. You know how people say they want to get their ducks in a row? So imagine you saw somebody in a park with a bullhorn yelling at ducks to walk in a straight line. You'd be like, that person's got a problem. Idiot. Yeah. Or they have like a mental problem. Yeah. They need to go talk to somebody. Yet isn't that what we do? Yeah. We stand over our ducks and we yell at them. Why are you not straight? Why isn't this not bigger? Why isn't this faster? Da, 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 da. Yeah. And so through awareness, if I can become aware, like, hey, how am I contributing to this? What am I focused on right now? Right? And then physiology is another component where my nervous system responds to my physiology. So let's say me and you were having a conversation, and let's say we were in a heated debate or argument, and somebody comes in and tells a ridiculously funny joke. Yeah. It's impossible for us to stay mad. Yeah. Because my nervous system responds to my physiology. So fear is a visceral response, but so is courage. I have to like train courage into my body. And then language.
Hold on, rewind. You trained courage into your body? Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, I have to train it. And
how do you do that?
Well, I think the way you do that is by like intentionally and purposely moving towards things that are difficult physically. So like, you know, whether that's a workout, whether that's a cold plunge, like temperature, whether that's, you know, it's too hot out and I don't feel like going outside, but doing it, is you take that little governor that's in your mind that's always trying to be like, don't do that, whatever, in an attempt to preserve your well-being. But we don't live in a time of like bears and lions and tigers anymore. Yeah. And every time you make a different decision, that voice gets smaller. Right. And then language is the last part. And you know this, like life and death is in the tongue. So I can build something up with words or I can tear it down with words. Yeah. So I was on a call recently and somebody said, hey, Aaron, the last time the marketplace changed, what did you do to survive? Yeah. Survival is a very interesting choice of words. Yeah. Because survival is the difference between life and what? Death. Yeah. So that tells me what you're focused on. And now I know what you feel. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. So now it's very clear. So once I'm clear on that, I can see how I'm contributing to my own discomfort and I can do something about how.
So like you spoke about building courage with your body. How, like what language do you tell yourself or use?
Yeah. So, cause I think you can only behave in accordance with the way you see yourself. And I think 90% of most of our thoughts are just habits. They're like the same thoughts we have all the time.
Yeah.
So I think by catching yourself with language, I catch people regularly, like whether that's like, what did you do to survive? Or you'll hear people say like, you give them a compliment, they'll be like, oh no, like it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
They're demurring. They're pushing it away. Because truthfully, what that means is what they're focused on is they don't think that they're worthy of it. So they can't stand it and accept it and say thank you.
Yeah.
But how can you receive a gift if you're not willing to like say thank you for it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think being conscious of language and being conscious of intentionally and purposefully curating a self-image the way you see yourself. And that's happened for you. So you went through an evolution. You saw yourself as like an agent who grinded. You changed the way you saw yourself. Now you see yourself as a flipper, an investor. Well, what I'm aware of is entrepreneur.
Yeah.
5-10 years from now, you might change it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And that's the evolution I went through.
Yeah.
And with each change in identity, which I can use physiology, focus, and language, because that creates identity. So the cool part about those three is that those three I have control over. They're malleable, which means I can change my identity, which is wild. So I tell people, like, if you would have met me when I was 13 years old, I had a butt fluff mustache and aviator glasses.
Really?
Yeah. Like this dude who has sold 2,000 homes in his career and has a coaching company and recruited 194 agents in 60 months, who's invested all his money, I've made him up through physiology, focus, and language. So if I was to tell you that there was a being who could think something and make it real, what would you call that?
God.
God. Well, weren't we told that you can do everything I can do if you had faith as big as a mustard seed? If I think of that message that the royal power, the royal control, the royal dominion is inside of you to do what I do, we have the same ability.
Yeah.
It just might not happen immediately. Yeah. But let's say it took me 5 years to turn myself into somebody who does 100 deals. What's 5 years compared to 4.5 billion? It's a nanosecond. It's the same thing. I thought something and made it real. And I watched something recently on TikTok, which was dope. It's like abracadabra, that word, if you break it down, I think it's in Hebrew. It means I speak and I create. Because in Hebrew, the word for words and things is the same. There's no differentiation. Words are things. Right?
Yeah.
So you can change your identity and therefore change how you see yourself. And when you change how you see yourself, you will behave in accordance with the way and then you will start to manifest whatever it is that you want.
Got it. All right. Well, this podcast ended really good.
Yeah, good.
Like, I don't know where this EXP thing's going to go, but if people want to find you, where do they go?
Yeah, so they can check me out at Aaron Novello on Instagram.
If you're not making any money, well, you probably can't invest with me anyway. Most realtors aren't very good real estate investors. No. They're just good salespeople. Dude, you're broke, okay? You don't need a rental property.
Yeah.